This video is about the fascinating history of Mexico, beginning with its first inhabitants and their cultures up to modern times. I will explain how various civilizations like the Olmecs, Maya, and Aztecs developed and what impact they had on the country's history, leading to independence and the challenges of modern Mexico. Thousands of years ago, hunters and gatherers lived in Mexico. Around 2000 BC, people began to cultivate maize. Small villages emerged and agriculture became important. These early cultures laid the foundation for later civilizations. Their traces are found in old tools and ceramics. The Olmecs lived from about 1200 BC on the Gulf Coast of Mexico. They built large stone heads and temples. Their culture influenced other peoples, such as the Maya and Aztecs. The Olmecs had a writing system and a calendar. They are considered one of Mexico's first high cultures. Around 100 BC, the city of Teotihuacan arose in central Mexico. It became one of the largest cities in the world with giant pyramids. Teotihuacan was a trade center and very powerful. No one knows exactly who ruled the city. Around 600 AD, it was abandoned. The Maya lived from about 500 BC in southern Mexico and Central America. They built cities like Chichen Itza with temples and observatories. The Maya had writing, knew mathematics and astronomy. Their culture flourished until about 900 AD. Then many cities were abandoned. The Toltecs ruled from 900 AD in central Mexico. Their capital was Tula, known for warrior statues. They strongly influenced the Maya and Aztecs. The Toltecs were famous for their art and architecture. Around 1200 AD, their power faded. In the 14th century, the Aztecs founded their capital, Tenochtitlan. They built a vast empire through war and trade. Their city was located on an island in Lake Texcoco. The Aztecs worshipped gods like Huitzilopochtli and practiced human sacrifice. Their empire was very powerful. Tenochtitlan was one of the largest cities in the world in the 15th century. It had canals, temples, and markets. The Aztecs built dikes and floating gardens called chinampas. The city was the center of their empire. Tens of thousands of people lived there. In 1519, the Spaniard Hernán Cortés landed in Mexico. He heard about the wealthy Aztecs and wanted to conquer them. Cortés allied with enemies of the Aztecs, like the Tlaxcaltecs. The Spaniards had weapons, horses, and brought diseases. This greatly weakened the Aztecs. In 1521, the Spaniards conquered Tenochtitlan after a long siege. The Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II died, and his successor Cuauhtémoc surrendered. Diseases like smallpox killed many Aztecs. The city was destroyed, and the Spaniards built Mexico City on its ruins. The Aztec Empire ended. After the conquest, Mexico became part of the Spanish colonial empire. It was called New Spain and was ruled by a viceroy. The Spaniards built churches and brought Christianity. Many indigenous people died from diseases or were forced to work. The colonial period lasted nearly 300 years. The Spaniards introduced the encomienda system. Spanish settlers received land and indigenous people as laborers. The indigenous had to work hard, often in mines or fields. Many suffered from poor treatment. The system made the Spaniards rich, but the indigenous poor. The Catholic Church was very powerful in New Spain. It built churches and missions to convert the indigenous. Monks like the Franciscans taught the Christian faith. The church owned much land and had influence. It played a major role in daily life. During colonial times, cultures mixed. Spaniards, indigenous people, and African slaves lived together. The mestizo culture was born, a blend of Spanish and indigenous traditions. Mexican cuisine, music, and art developed. But the Spaniards held most of the power. In the 18th century, many people in New Spain were dissatisfied. Indigenous and mestizos had few rights. The Spaniards controlled the wealth, and taxes were high. Enlightenment ideas from Europe inspired some to think about freedom. Tensions slowly grew. In 1810, the War of Independence against Spain began. The priest Miguel Hidalgo called for rebellion, known as the Grito de Dolores. Many indigenous and mestizos joined. Hidalgo was executed in 1811, but the fight continued. The war lasted 11 years. After Hidalgo, José María Morelos led the struggle. He was a priest and a clever leader. Morelos wanted equality and an end to slavery. He organized an army but was captured and executed in 1815. His courage inspired others to keep fighting. In 1821, Mexico became independent. Agustín de Iturbide, a former Spanish officer, led the final phase of the war. He formed an alliance with the rebels. The Treaty of Córdoba made Mexico free. Mexico initially became an empire under Iturbide. In 1822, Agustín de Iturbide became Emperor Agustín I. But many Mexicans did not want a monarchy. His government was weak and unpopular. In 1823, he was overthrown, and Mexico became a republic. This time was full of chaos and conflict. In 1824, Mexico adopted a constitution and became a republic. But there were many problems. Politicians argued, and uprisings occurred. The economy was weak, and the country had debts. The young republic struggled to remain stable. In the 1830s, settlers in Texas rebelled against Mexico. Many were from the USA and wanted independence. In 1836, they defeated the Mexican army at the Battle of San Jacinto. Texas became independent, which weakened Mexico. Later, Texas joined the USA. In 1846, war broke out between Mexico and the USA. The USA wanted more land, like California and New Mexico. Mexico lost many battles, and in 1848, Mexico City was taken. The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo ended the war. Mexico lost nearly half its territory. In the 1850s, there was conflict between liberals and conservatives in Mexico. The liberals wanted to limit the power of the church. The Reform War, 1857 to 1861, was a civil war. The liberals won under Benito Juárez. Their reforms made Mexico more modern. In 1862, France invaded Mexico because Mexico did not pay its debts. The French installed Maximilian of Habsburg as emperor, but many Mexicans, led by Benito Juárez, fought the French. In 1867, the French were defeated, and Maximilian was executed. Mexico became a republic again. From 1876 to 1911, Porfirio Diaz ruled Mexico. This period is called the Porfiriato. Diaz brought stability and modernized the country with railways and factories. But only the rich benefited, and the poor suffered. His dictatorship led to great discontent. In 1910, the Mexican Revolution began against Diaz. Leaders like Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa fought for land and freedom. Diaz resigned in 1911, but the war continued. The revolution brought chaos but also change. In 1917, Mexico got a new constitution. The 1917 Constitution was a milestone. It gave workers rights and limited the power of the church. Land was to be distributed to peasants. But many promises were not immediately kept. Mexico remained politically unstable. In the 1920s, the PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party, was founded. It ruled Mexico until 2000. The PRI brought stability, but often through corruption. Mexico modernized, but many remained poor. The party controlled almost everything. From the 1940s to 1960s, Mexico's economy grew rapidly. More factories, roads, and schools were built. This time is called the Mexican Miracle. But the wealth was not evenly shared. Many farmers and workers stayed poor. In 1968, students protested in Mexico City for more democracy. The government brutally suppressed the protests. At the Tlatelolco massacre, hundreds died. It showed how authoritarian the PRI was. The events shocked the world. Since the 1990s, Mexico has become more democratic. In 2000, the PRI lost the presidency. Mexico signed trade agreements like NAFTA with the USA and Canada. but problems like poverty and crime remain. Today, Mexico is a country in transition.